It's a Big Boy Tuesday. Greg Bedard alongside. How you doing, Big Boy?
Hello.
Okay. Greg Bedard brought to you by the Best Ford in Nashua. Looking for great deals on new Fords? Go to the Best First. Best Ford in Nashua on the web at thebestford.com. I'll just throw it open to you. Your reaction to the firing of Gerard Mayo. Your reaction to what's next. Your reaction to what has happened already today. And if you're just joining us, the Patriots have completed or in the process of completing interviews with two minority candidates today. Byron Leftwich, who has been out of football for 2 years. I didn't even realize this.
Yep. Both of them have been. Leftwich and Pep Hamilton.
Pep Hamilton's been out of football for 2 years?
I think so.
Where was he last? Was it Stanford?
No, he
was formerly Stanford, right? A long time ago?
Yep.
Where's he been now?
He, hang on one second. He last was Houston Texans offensive coordinator in 2022.
Okay, so that was his last NFL.
Yeah.
Okay, so they completed 2 interviews with minority candidates today, or are in the process of doing so. And as a side note, neither of these guys are in the NFL, so the Pats didn't have to wait. If you are coaching a playoff team, i.e. Brian Flores, you cannot interview now. So you either have to be out of the playoffs or out of the league. And so that's where the Patriots started with these interviews. That has transpired today. So, Greg, again, your thoughts on what has happened, what's coming? Go.
So, as to Gerard Mayo being fired, I look, was I surprised? No. I was stunned with how quickly it happened. That does not happen in the National Football League, and it's usually one of two things. There was a level of incompetence or a personal situation between ownership and the coach that they were just like, they're done. I don't have any information telling me that was the case here. Do I rule out the possibility that Gerard perhaps went to the Crafts at some point last week and tried to get a little bit of a clarification about his future and didn't like what he heard, and maybe there were words exchanged? It's possible. I have no information. I'm not saying that happened. The more likely reason for firing a coach 90 minutes after the game, before he even goes home, before even a postseason meeting, is because you know what you're doing, you know where you want to go, you want to get there as quickly as possible. Let's clear the decks. Maybe somebody interviewed with the Jets who you really like and that annoyed you. Clear the decks as soon as possible and move on. So I think that's the likely situation here. As far as what's next, I would be stunned if Mike Vrabel isn't the next head coach of the Patriots. And looking at how quickly they are moving, it wouldn't surprise me if it's not by the end of the week or Monday or Tuesday next week.
Okay. Does it worry you that they're going so quickly and not going through a real process? And I think this is an interesting question. They haven't gone through they didn't go through a process last time. They haven't gone through a process in 25 years. And really, they haven't even gone through a process since Pete Carroll, if you really want to think about it. I mean, they had identified Bill Belichick before 1999 even finished and sent out the fax to the Jets the night the season ended. So it's not like they even went through a process with Bill Belichick. And they obviously didn't go through a process with Gerard Mayo, and they're not really going through one now. Burt Breer, among others, tweets that if the Patriots rush another hire through like they did last year, that's not a great look for the franchise for a variety of reasons, and it should make the prime candidates think twice about that place, meaning the Patriots. If anyone needs to go through a full process, it's New England. Agree or disagree?
So I disagree with Burt a little bit. Well, first of all, there's a situation that the Crafts are in that they made for themselves, really, with the succession plan with Mayo. Look, they screwed up. Robert admitted it the other day. That was great. They're not. I think they have an idea who they want to hire. Look, they're not going to go from a first-time head coach in Gerard Mayo, and that was a spectacular failure. And so they're not going to. I think the chances are like 1% that they would hire, let's say, Ben Johnson, another first-time head coach, somebody. They knew Gerard for 15 years, 17 years. That didn't work. What, now they're going to bring in Ben Johnson, who they don't know at all, who's never been a head coach before? That's not going to happen. The next hire, the Crafts are going to go back to the formula that they've used that's been largely successful for them, which is veteran, has been a head coach before, experienced, all that stuff. So, and I understand what Bert's saying, and he's talked about this and how they need to build all this out. But if you hire a head coach, let's say it's Mike Vrabel, what did Mike Vrabel spend this year doing? He was with the Cleveland Browns. He was coaching tight ends and offensive line, and he was in probably the most analytics-driven organization in the National Football League and learned a lot of stuff about that. So either you can go out and acquire the knowledge about how the Patriots need to be facing things in the future, or you can acquire the knowledge, which I think is the road that we're headed down for.
I just think this is such a double-edged sword. It's like they hire Vrabel quickly and they say, well, you didn't go through a process. You're making the same mistake. But if they go through the process and take their time and Vrabel signs somewhere else, you know what the first thing we're going to say is,
Yes.
you lost the guy. You slept. You snooze, you lose. Do you want the guy or not? So, I don't know if they can win on that one. Do you have a thought, Miss?
Well, I was just going to ask Greg, if not Vrabel, who, Greg? Who else is out there that would be a viable candidate that they could consider?
To me, there's only 3 serious candidates that I would consider: Vrabel, Ben Johnson, and Brian Flores. And the problem with Ben Johnson, any Lions, I would talk to Aaron. I would take the virtual interviews. They can do virtual interviews with the teams on a bye this week. So that's the Lions and the Chiefs. I would take those interviews. It doesn't hurt. You can gain some knowledge through that. Now, Flores, they can't talk to until they're eliminated, and certainly can't interview him in person, I think, until after the divisional round, unless they go out this first weekend. So, I mean, look, it's a tough situation. I understand it. I understand. Trust me, I railed against the Kraft sort of circumventing the Rooney Rule with the Gerard Mayo hiring. Now, they ended up hiring a black head coach. I understand that. But the spirit of the Rooney Rule is to expose as many minority candidates to the owners, because these owners talk to each other. So you might end up hiring Gerard Mayo, but if you talk to some other candidate, you might be really impressed and be like, we didn't hire that guy, but you should really look into him. And so I railed against that last year. It's the same situation now, but I mean, look, the situation is what the situation is. Are they going to wait until January, 25th? Most of the hirings last year happened between January 21st and February 1st. And so do the Crafts have to wait that long, especially if they know what they want and have a candidate that they know, are familiar with, who's been a successful head coach in this league? I don't think that's fair either.
Okay, 2 quick things before we go to the phones. One is, and I hope I don't forget 2, because when I put 2 things in my brain, I tend to lose a second. First thing is, these are clearly sham interviews.
Yeah.
Now do you know, people, why Elliot Wolf and his staff is still here? Someone has to do this. So if Robert Kraft fired Elliot Wolf and blew out the staff, who's going through all this stuff? They need someone here to do all the stuff that's getting done in the interim.
Robin Glazer.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll get to her, I guess, in a bit or whatever. But thank you, Bill. This is why Elliot Wolf is here. Robert says, yes, Elliot Wolf and Alonzo Highsmith are going to be in on the interviews. And you all went, why are they going to choose the coach? They're not choosing the coach, dummies. They're just doing the dirty work that the Crafts don't want to do. So that's why they're here. Another indication of why you just don't blow everybody out and why Elliot Wolf, don't worry about Elliot Wolf. He's here to do this miscellaneous crap. Okay? 2, and I have forgotten it. Here's something that I'm hearing from the reporting in the last 24, 48 hours about Gerard Mayo, and I'm beginning to reject it, as I know you will too. And that is that the last month did in Gerard Mayo. That they were solid on Gerard Mayo, but the last month changed their mind. You're already shaking your head. Go.
It's just not true. I mean, we've talked about this the entire time.
Your reporting from day one was they started wondering about the guy in the first month or the first week of training camp or whatever. What do you know?
Yes.
Open up the Vaseline, Murray.
Let's go.
They, like I've said on this show before, ownership had raised eyebrows about, once Mayo got the job, how he, his vision for the franchise. They just didn't think there was a lot of stuff there. They were kind of like, that's it. That's this is the direction we're going. They were just like, okay. And then, as it went along and along, their doubts didn't change. And in fact, once they were at 1-6, that sort of point where they had their first 6-game losing streak, that's when Robert and Jonathan started having discussions with people about what was going on. And it wasn't just about Drake May, as I told you before. It was about Jerod Mayo. It went going forward. Can we support him better? Is that even possible? If we get rid of the offensive coordinator, are we going to be able to bring anybody in? Defensive coordinator, all that stuff. And I think they had their doubts the whole time. They were kind of like, And then I think the final month did them in.
And and Robert mentioned it yesterday, that Cincinnati win, I think we all went, whoa.
Yep.
Maybe they're onto something. So, okay, you just based on the results. But other than that, this thing about Jerod was solid until the last month. Look, I think the optics of the last month are important. Like, that's what owners react to. But to have this now turn around and say he was good until the last month, first week, first month, first glimpse they got, they knew something wasn't right. By week 7, they're already calling around the league. These things happened. And so, they knew it almost immediately, as we all kind of did.
I mean, they should. I mean, they inherited Bill Parcells. They had Pete Carroll, who they fired after an 8-8 season. He had a winning record. 2 playoff appearances, 1 playoff win. They fired him after an 8-8 season. They had Bill Belichick. They know what it looked like. They know. And then Jerod couldn't do that.
Okay, Big Boy had it.
Stroke me.
It's okay. Listen, there's winner. Sometimes you win some, you lose some.
Right. We're on to the next story.
Oh, Big Boy, don't be magnanimous now.
No, I mean, like, look, I could trip over myself on the next story. Like, I mean,
exactly.
Exactly, you guys have been in this too. Fine.
Win some, you lose some.
Exactly.
In fact, I bet on it.
So you're going to lose the next one. But hey, listen, just every now and then it's okay to throw out the media scoreboard. Yes, Mazz, go ahead. You want to
stroke me?
Yeah, it certainly feels like, Greg, they're about to turn their football team back over to a guy.
To football people.
I mean, well, not just
real
that.
Football people.
I didn't hear much about collaboration. I heard a tiny little bit about collaboration yesterday, but what I heard early on was the next guy's going to make the call.
Yeah, from what I understand and from talking to people, and again, this hasn't happened. We'll have to see. But I would not be surprised if we don't see a similar situation to when Belichick was hired, where Bill, when he came in, like he didn't have, and Robert even talked about it at some point, where Bill didn't have ultimate power for a couple of seasons, I think it was. But I think if it's Vrabel, I think that Vrabel's going to have a lot of power. And I think that depending on how things go, that's only going to expand over time. I think it's a comfortable thing for the Crafts. And it also, they get to go back to being shielded by Vrabel. I think they, with the whole Mayo thing, they were out there. They were exposed. They had to take a lot of hits. And I think that would be a nice byproduct for them, that there's now a new human shield in front of the Crafts.
I mean, there are a lot of advantages to that. There are. And you're bringing an experienced, qualified guy. You empower him. And that doesn't mean you have to give him the keys to every building on the property.
No, I think the new model in the NFL is that in a lot of places I think you want to emulate, where the coach sort of picks the GM, but the GM still has quote unquote control, and they're tied at the hip, whether it's McVay and Les Snead or formerly Pete Carroll and Snyder. Give me some more examples. Andy Reid, didn't Andy Reid say, was it Dort? No, who's his GM? Whatever.
Did you mention San Francisco? They're pretty good.
Kyle and John Lynch.
Yeah.
So like the coach is a central figure, and he sort of signs off on or brings in the GM, but the GM has the roster, and the Crafts can massage that, as they did early on with Bill. Absolutely. Again, I said to you yesterday, Chuck was still wandering around the building, and Bill didn't have carte blanche, and they had some stoppers in there, or just, and that evolved over time as Bill won. And so Elliott Wolf stays on to certainly get through this phase. Vrabel brings in his guy, and Vrabel's guy runs the board, but Wolf is still there. Someone's still there. And it's sort of that, away you go.
Yes, like there has to be some philosophical alignment, too, between the coach and the GM, the coach and his coordinators. The thing last year was effed up on so many levels. It was just slapped together with people and arranged marriages, the whole thing, all the way across.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.